PRV tools, part 2. So we're going to continue to look at this. We looked at a lot of the features in kind of a hurried way before, and I want to take a little time to slow down and cover some more practical applications of some of these things. So what we're going to do is actually record some MIDI straight into this view. So I've got it all set up already. What I need to do first, though, is just click on record. I'm going to let a measure or two go by before I start, and then I'm going to play on my keyboard, and you'll hear the click track as well. So that'll all be coming through, and you'll see what I'm doing. Then we'll talk about some of the editing we're going to do with that. Okay, so what we have now is a certified mess of notes, right? We're going to play through these and see what we have, but let's zoom out. You'll see that we've got it all here. We're going to turn off the microscope for a few minutes because we don't necessarily need that right now. And you'll see that we've got tons of stuff. Let's play through here real quick and listen to any notes we need to pull out. Right away I heard a note down here that was wrong. Hold down Alt so I can select that note and we hit delete. And there was a couple other things that we could do timing wise. I want to hear this one note one more time. Right there. So we're going to delete that one as well. And I think we got all the kind of the miss notes gone now. So a little bit of free time happening here, but I think we have some notes that really stick out in terms of velocity. So what we can do is come down here and draw in the velocity lane so that some of these make a little bit more sense. Not changing too much of the overall performance, but we are going to change a little bit of it, right? So we can make it a little bit better. Let's try that, even some of them out. Okay, so the performance is made a little bit better by doing that, but it's still a little bit on the soft side in terms of some of the timings. We're not going to talk about quantization yet, but I want to show you one of the key features of this particular piano roll view. Hold Option again to select everything as I drag over on top, and then I'm going to right click. And we have a note properties thing here. It allows us to look at the time of that note, the pitch, the velocity, the duration, which channel is going out, etc. So that's one thing we can do in the piano review to really get an idea of the notes. And I can also right click not on a note and it brings up this menu. Brings up the tools, says fit content, so that shows us the zoom. We can do all the same things we could do with some of these buttons, but then we have the MIDI plugins here. So this is going to be a great place when we talk about the MIDI plugins for you to see these and know that you can get to them right from the PRV and use some of them from there. We can quantize from here, which we're going to talk about later. And groove quantize. We can transpose, so that means we could take everything up a certain amount, and we didn't have a couple notes selected there, so we should probably undo and make sure we've got everything selected. There we go. So let's transpose this now. 3 half steps. And I switch it back there so you hear the difference. So that's allowing us to shift everything that's selected. We can also slide things, and this is going to be events and track by either measures, ticks, seconds, or frames, so we can move them horizontally. We can interpolate them. This is something that's pretty advanced, but what you're going to see is that we have the notes, controls, patches, etc., and we can actually do a lot of manipulation of these things in this particular menu. Now this is kind of advancing. I don't want to get to it too soon, so we'll talk about this a little later, but it's a pretty cool little option that we have. We can actually change the length as well, so start times and durations by 100%. Means it's going to stay the same. So let's do this by around 144. You'll see that everything got shifted out. In effect, it slowed it down, but it just didn't spread it out. It also increased the lengths of the notes. So that's a pretty cool feature to make things kind of slow down in time, etc. We can scale velocity, which means that we can have it start at a certain point. And we can actually just enter a 0 in here. And switch these to percentages and say OK. You'll see here that it scaled them. So now we're going to come in. Not just a fade in, because it kept the relative positions of each of these. We just have now a slower fade across. Okay, so we're running out of time here. What I want to show you real quickly, just to go through the rest of these, retrograde means it's going to reverse the overall order of everything. And then we have some fit to time, fit to improvisation, and a couple others, which we'll talk about when we get into advanced MIDI. So I want to end at this point right now and just say that there are tons of tools here in the PRV, and a lot of them are very flexible and powerful, but it's really going to be based upon the data you enter. And we're going to get to a lot more of these as we talk about editing MIDI. So let's move on at this point to the next section.